Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, please email me directly, tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Address is in the description below. Please reach out to me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com, for your purchase and pricing questions about this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today we're discussing a watch that was announced for 2010. This is the Omega Speedmaster Broad Arrow, a coaxial chronometer chronograph that is remarkably high horology inside and handsomely decorated outside. It's one of the most distinctive and attractive Speedmasters of the 21st century to my experienced eye. I really like this watch. Now, the timepiece in stainless steel is 44.25 millimeters in diameter, 13.8 millimeters thick. We'll get a little bit closer so you can see it better. And then 49.8 millimeters lug-to-lug across the wrist. So while it is larger than a moon watch by over 2 millimeters in diameter, it's really almost the same size, within 2 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip. The watch is 21 millimeters, however, between the lugs, because unlike the moon watch, we are talking about a larger, more modern case. The timepiece is easy to wear, and I'll show you on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters circumference. It's a big watch, but it wears no larger than a gray side or a dark side of the moon. Though this is a stainless steel case and bracelet, the watches wear identically in terms of their footprint on the wrist. At 13.8 millimeters, it's not quite as thick as a thing like this could be. With coaxial escapement, a chronograph complication, and automatic winding with the display case back, I would have guessed closer to 15 millimeters thick. So you can wear this with any jacket and many dress sleeves as well. Here's the over-the-top shot, and I'll move away so you get a better sense of the watch in proportion. Good-looking watch. Handsome bracelet. Fans of Speedmasters will be familiar with this design. It's a 3 primary link, 2 intermediate design with staggered alignment as well as polished intermediates. You can see the outer faces, oval cross section, polished flanks. Removable links here fixed by screws. We're well past the era of pin sleeve fixtures by 2010. Remarkably stout milled clasp, milled single swing arm, and then you can see there are 2 divots drilled inside the clasp, so you can change the anchoring point of the bracelet to micro size and adjust using a strap tool. The case is familiar to Speedmaster and Seamaster fans. Asymmetrical shear guard case flank on the 3 o'clock side, inherited from the moon watch, so a little bit of protection against shearing the crown as well as the pushers. And then we have those lyre style lugs that cant inward and outward as you reach their end, so they twist in both directions with an expanding polished bevel at the tips of the lugs and a thin satin midcase. You can see the underside of the tachymeter is polished, the crystal is sapphire, and then the top of the tachymeter is brushed. So a lovely concentric brushed metallic. The tachymeter is used to gauge the speed of, for example, a car over a kilometer. A tachymeter is a speed gauge. And then we have a lovely dial with vertical Côte de Genève, rarely seen on the dial side of a watch. It gets even more intriguing as all of the Arabic numerals have been blackened for contrast, as have the hands at center, including a blackened Dauphine hand, and that's for the minutes, broad arrow hours, applique blackened Omega logo, and marquee blackened and dished sub-registers. And then there's a lovely honeycomb pattern within those registers. You can also appreciate that the timepiece features a little bit of a lacquered red at the tip of each of the sub-register hands. There is a date. The watch, unlike historic moon watches, featuring hacking seconds, there is also a quick set function, so you can cycle the date should the watch run down. And the watch does include a vertical clutch chronograph mechanism. So when you start up a system with a vertical clutch, there's no jump to the seconds hand. Furthermore, because of the vertical clutch, you can keep running the chronograph with no additional wear and tear to the mechanism. So if you just like to have center seconds with minutes and hours, ignore the chronograph registers, just leave the chronograph running. The vertical clutch lets you do that. A super crisp column wheel function selector is featured in this watch, and you can see it in action. Column wheel, the traditional way of building a chronograph, a little bit more expensive to make and harder to tune than a coulisse or cam system, but premium, and it makes for a more satisfying interaction. You feel it, you hear it. Automatic winding, 52-hour power reserve. This movement, the 3313, is based on the Frédéric Piguet 1285, which is a somewhat more capable, more durable, and thicker version of the ultra haute de gamme 1185. Now, changes here that you don't get on an 1185, for example, that hacking seconds function, also a higher beat rate than the 21.6 of the standard 1185. Also more power reserve, as the 1185 is 40, this is 52. And whereas the 1185 has a mobile stud index, this here is adjusted in 5 positions, and it has a free sprung tongue balance for better shock resistance, 36 joule movement, column wheel, vertical clutch, and all of this water resistant down to 100 meters, something you do not see on a standard moonwatch, which would be 50 meters. The timepiece is also a COSC certified Swiss chronometer, so it has that feather in its cap, and the finishing is to a higher grade than you will find on standard Omega movements. If you compare this to any moonwatch caliber, you're going to find that, for example, the Côte de Genève, the beveling, and the screws are executed to a higher grade. It's not quite Vacheron, but it is at a higher level than you expect from Omega watches. All of this very technically impressive and a lot to love right here. The watch looks good, feels good, runs well, and it has real horological pedigree. Please reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Back with the well-loomed Speedmaster Broad Arrow by night.